Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Okay, I think we're sounding good. Yes, sir, the hat is looking good. I hope Florida State fans are feeling good. Because, I don't know. Depending on who and what you believe, you may not be feeling good by the end of this episode. What is going on, Florida State family? Seminole Nation. Let me take these down. In the 863 tribe. It is your boy POLK, a.k.a. A-Lo, a.k.a. the goddamn truth. You are on another episode of Noles After Dark. And things continue to get updated seemingly by the hour with this huge announcement at the end of July and another huge announcement in the beginning of August. So you know me, I'm going to talk about it. You know me, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to give you my opinions. Remember, I don't have sources. I just read the stars, read the tea leaves, read the tarot cards, read the constellations. I just pull stuff out of thin air, out of straws in my hat. But you're going to get my opinion on really what's going on right now in Florida State Seminole Nation. But before we do that, man, Jason Huish with the $20 dono says, "What up, my brother? Hope we get the goods." I hope we get the goods as well. I hope we get the goods as well. Thank you very much for the dono. Let's get that money.
Get more money, get more money, yeah.
Where were we? So let's shout out everybody in the chat real quick, man. Let's just get to chopping it up about what's got Florida State fan base melting down on this July 21st weekend. Briley, Grill Master, Tyler Hedden, Peter Shields, William, Rob, Terrell, Salty Chris Fowler, I said William already, but I'll say it again. Jeff's in the building, Matthews in the building, Montre, James, R. Davius, Born Legacy, Vontae B, Peter Shields, Chris, Sporadics in the building. I think that's everybody. Joel, let's get it. Stevento. Let me see what let's see. Stevento says it's definitely not a secret. But the coaching staff knows he's going to visit Colorado with several of his teammates. Relax, Nole Nation. Lester's gonna be a Nole. Pat's in the building. And Herb Gotti doing his thing. Let's talk about it, bro. I don't know where y'all want to start first. Y'all want to start with Lester or Bolden first? I'll let y'all pick. Let y'all pick the. What's going on, Jeff? What's going on? No, sir, not me. Y'all pick. We going Lester or Bolden first? Lester. Jeffrey says Lester. Island Boys in the building. William says KJ. Irv says Lester. Grillmaster says KJ. So we got what? 2. Tyler says Lester. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 Leicester. Briley says Leicester. Caveman was good. You just in Puerto Rico. Shout out to you, Pat. Let's start with Leicester. Peter wants Leicester. Okay, we'll do Leicester. We'll circle back to KJ. So, first, it starts with Newberg. Well, I don't know. Did it start with Berg? Did it start with the 247 guys? Y'all tell me. At the end of the day, the powers that be, the media powers that be, should I say, have decided that they want to get some engagement, get some clicks, and rile the fan base up. So that's what we got here, man. We have a situation where it's July, it's the dead period, and you know what? We need some engagement on our websites. Let's throw out some I don't want to say BS. I think the visit may very well happen. So I don't want to call it a lie or BS. I think, however, we are letting, again, I said this all along, y'all. Y'all let Deion got y'all by the nuts, man. Deion Sanders has this entire fan base by the ball sack, and he continues to play with y'all. Again, as y'all know, man, I don't have sources, bro. I just have people that I talk to, and I don't consider them sources because I never really use them in what I don't ever really use them in what I talk about. So I will say this. I've always felt comfortable about Leicester. I feel no less comfortable about Charles Leicester III. I've always considered him everything. I always consider him a lock, and nothing has changed, even with these new developments going on here about his visit to Colorado. I will say this. I see the super chat, Jeff. Give me a second. I will say this. I will entertain this. You never know what can happen on these visits. If you are a Florida State, I don't even want to say fan because the fans are already see the sky is falling. But if you are a Florida State coach, I would highly do anything in my power to keep him off of that campus. I will say that. You never know what can happen on a visit. You just never know. I don't care if he's going with teammates. I don't care who he's going with. Even though my confidence wavers 0. July 28th, we're going to find out. But my confidence wavers this much. You never know. I'm just saying, you never know. And I'm not here to play devil's advocate, nor am I here to tell you everything's 100% one way or the other. And I don't want to compare it to the situation that had us all in turmoil a couple of years ago. But I will say this. I remember when a certain prospect went and visited Jackson. And everybody said, he's just going to visit a guy he idolized. There's no way he's pulling the trigger on that. They didn't take it serious. Now, of course, 2-3 years later, everybody's going to take it serious now. The point is, okay, you're aware of the visit. You know he's going to take the visit. Florida State probably will still feel confident after the visit. Up until that visit happens, if I'm whoever, and I think this is we're still in the dead period if I'm not mistaken, and they can't really have contact. But there's a way to have contact. If you know, you know, right? I am trying to keep that guy off of that campus because I don't know what happens when he gets there. And Florida State, once he gets there, all bets are off in the sense of you don't know what's being all. You don't know. You don't know. Lester tweeted something very interesting today that, in my opinion, confirms how I feel about it. Where he's, actually he didn't tweet it. I think he retweeted. I think a teammate of his that says you have to follow your heart. I believe this is his heart. I don't know him, obviously, but I can only see the way he's spoken about this program, spoken about this school, and the way he's maneuvered. I believe this is his heart. I don't know the young man. Don't no idea what the hell he has going on in his head. Really, nobody does, regardless of what everybody tries to tell you, and all the clicks people try to give you, and all the nobody knows. Nobody ever knows. Let me take a sip. At the end of the day, the way he's handled the recruiting process, I feel very confident about Florida State and where Florida State stands. I don't want him going on that visit. I'm not going to share that. I'm not going to pretend like the visit is no big deal. I'm not one of those people that are going to be like, well, the visit's no big deal because they know about it or they knew about it or we always knew. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean it's not a threat. But I still think even with the visit, the confidence level goes from 100 to, I don't know, what are they saying? 70, 75%. Still pretty much overwhelming odds, but you can never tell. Do I think some of this stuff is for engagement? Do I think some of this stuff is also in an attempt from Lester's own camp to hype up his recruiting process? His commitments are right around the corner. From what I understand, again, I don't know anything, but from what I understand, he's going to have a pretty big event when he commits. His ceremony is going to be, they're going to pull out some bells and whistles in this recruiting ceremony, from what I understand. So pay attention to that. I think they want people to tune into it, honestly. And some of this stuff isn't what on the surface it looks like, if that makes sense to y'all. If that makes sense to y'all. Let me get to, because I don't want to miss Jeff's super chat. So let me scroll back up here and get Jeff. Jeff with a $10 dono says, I'm not concerned. Lester's coming here. I have no doubt. This is not a Travis Hunter thing. Travis Hunter was committed to us. Lester's not, but he will be. Appreciate the $10 dono, Jeff, and thank you for the comment as always.
Jeff.
The visit is happening, but he's going down with his boys. Zakari, Tremaine, and a few others. I wouldn't be worried if there were a solo trip, but let the kid do his thing. Thank you. Don't be talking down on the lid. Irv says, I'm right. You're right. Because Deion may offer him $1 million. Our Davies says different situation, but FSU should have done everything to not let Falk visit Auburn right after visiting us. Different circumstances, but I understand what you're trying to say. Says, then you're right. You don't want him to go. But if he's told the staff that he's silent, whatever, we good. Don't sweat it. He's good with us. Tyler says, my thing is, even if he commits to Colorado, he's going to watch them play football games. That is true. This is also true. uh, this is. Can I be honest with y'all? Let me be honest for a second. Look, ultimately, y'all know where I want this young man to go. Would I be mad if Lester went to Colorado initially? It would make great content. It would be a very entertaining time period. I don't know if I'd necessarily be mad. Timmy says if Lester goes to Colorado, I want to see how Deion can keep Lester in his class because we haven't had to be on the side of keeping players committed through a season. That is actually a solid point from Timmy. If you look at the big fish that he's pulled, all of them have been last second flips, from Camarney to Hunter, even your boy, the wide receiver who ended up transferring to Louisville. I think his last name is Coleman, but I forget his first name. He's out of Missouri. Last signing day guys. It's a solid point. Deion's never, with the DBs, the big time DB targets, he's never got a guy to commit and have to commit through the season. And he's never been in a situation that he's going to be in Colorado where they could legitimately win 3 games this year. Max, like I think if he won, I think if Deion won 6 games, give him Coach of the Year. I'm not even lying to you. I promise I'm not. It's interesting. It's an interesting point from Tim. That is also a thing that's been out there for a while. The day after his commitment, that has also been out there for a long time. So, again, y'all, I know some of y'all have 247 subscriptions. I ain't mad at you. It's your money. Spend it how you want. I know some of y'all got all of that. Like I say, man, take everything with a grain of salt. Take everything with a grain of salt. Some of the information you pay for, the average person can get on the internet and find it out. So, yeah. And that's how you should look at them. I'm glad you look at everybody like that, as entertainers, or however you look at them. Insiders, I'm not saying people don't have connects. I know some people have connects, believe me. You just have to take everything with a grain of salt. The worst thing you can do is present something as fact that you can't control, right? The worst thing I can do is tell you such and such is going to be a null because of my sources. Is going on. That's the worst thing you can do, because when that doesn't happen, your credibility takes a shot, right? Which is why I always tell you guys, I just give opinions. So my opinion, Charles Lester will be a null, but I'm just a light-skinned dude on YouTube. I don't know anything. Am I going live for the ceremony Friday night? I don't know. I can if y'all want me to. I haven't really gave that much thought. I would hate to go live and have to get on here and curse and be pissed off. I don't do live events. Y'all know the last time I did a live event, it was Jacksonville State. Y'all know I ceased doing live events unless it's the spring game, because we can't lose the spring game. So I'll do a live spring game. Y'all know I don't do live events, right? See, now this is something I don't do, and I'm not knocking anybody that does it. I'm just saying this is something I personally don't do. I don't follow these kids on social media. I really don't. Half of the time, the only reason I know they tweet things is because somebody I do follow retweets it. I really don't. I try not to follow them on social media, because you know many times people hit me up because a kid at 2 a.m. types Instagram, or put something on Instagram, or put something on his Twitter page that something like, uh, this ain't going, like he'll put something on Twitter, oh, this ain't going well. And this man could be talking about a girl, he could be talking about anything, but of course football fans automatically think it has something to do with recruiting or his commitment or wanting to transfer. I cease following the players. Um, I will follow active players. So, but like high school kids, I do my best to not follow them. Um, thank you. Thanks about the hat. Appreciate the love for the hat. William with the $3 says, too many weapons this year. Run up the scoreboard. Um, Jason says, we got Leicester and Bolden. We'll talk about Bolden here in a second. We just need Smith and Trader, and we have a top 5 class. Over under, Leicester picks up 3.5 hats in the ceremony. Under. I don't think he's gonna. I don't know. 3.5. He's just gonna play ring around the rosy with the hats. He has something planned for that day, from what I understand. I'm gonna say under, but he has something planned. Tyler says, "Hell no, don't go live." Hey, don't go live. There you go. Don't go live. Y'all know I'm a little behind on the comments, so bear with me. But yeah, y'all saying don't go live. I don't do live events no more except for the spring game because we can't lose that. Somebody asked on his live, you hitting up the BBQ. His response was, yeah. It was quick when he said it, though, so take that for what it's worth. This is some interesting information. Wink, wink. Where you get that from? Let me be quiet. That's interesting, though. Let me scroll up a little bit. Let me catch up in the comments. What's up, Insane? There we go. All right, so I caught up in the comments. So yeah, man, Lester again, supposedly taking this visit to Colorado. That's what everybody's talking about. This mysterious visit that's not a mystery. Is supposed to happen before he makes his commitment, and then potentially may also be on campus the day after his commitment to Florida State. As far as I'm concerned, I don't believe that has changed at this point. We'll see what eventually ends up happening here. Personal opinion, y'all, I feel, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll say a 9. And the only reason it's not a 10, because if he legit makes that visit, again, I don't want him making that visit. But if he makes it, I don't want to say all bets are off, but I think it could get interesting. It's the staff job to convince that dude, let your teammates go do their thing. You stay your ass in Florida. We'll see what happens there. We'll definitely see what happens, but I think, like I said, I think he's playing up his moment, and it is his moment. He's drawing attention to his moment. He's no idiot. These young men are no idiot. They see how Deion has worked the last 2 years. If I can, and I don't know if he's doing this, he may or may not be. Again, I don't know anything. I'm just talking. If I can use the Colorado hype job to get everybody, because listen, bro, you don't think people want to go watch a kid that everybody has called a Florida State lock for the last, I don't know, 5-6 months, toss the Florida State hat again? Like, that would break the internet. So is it possibly he's using the potential of that to sell what will be the ultimate decision that we all expect? I don't know, man. That's just something to think of. Again, just talking off the top of my head, man. You have got Abrams and swear we so mad. Yeah. Again, I ain't anybody I told you so, but how many times did I tell y'all he would not be in this class? If you were mad about Abrams, let that go. Dev, what's going on? Tyler says Lester is obviously doing this for attention. Why else would you take a visit to the underdog in the recruitment just before you commit? Marco said, you have a big head. I mean, bro, it's a big hat. The intention of the hat is to be big. Marco, don't hate on the hat, bro. Listen, Marco, just worry about Louisville. I mean, we don't play y'all, so you ain't got to worry about Johnny Wilson giving y'all $150 again. But you know, you ain't got to worry about Johnny throwing $150 on y'all again. But just worry about. I think y'all play Miami. Beat them boys for me. Beat Miami for me. Do that. Beat Miami for me. That's what I need. So let's do it. So what's up, Matt? And then I'm not worried about Abrams or any one player unless it's Luke. I hear that. Luke is obviously he's your quarter. He is your quarterback, and he would be the highest rated quarterback we have signed since in a while. So I'm with you on that. Luke would hurt. I don't disagree with you, Jonathan. Steve Ento says Lester being a typical high school student athlete, joining recruitment as he should. Can't wait until he has a huge turnout. Now, he's gonna have a huge turnout. I'll definitely see that. What's the chances we can flip Smith? I don't want to talk about Smith right now. Let's go into KJ Bolden because I don't think Smith is I'm not sold on that. What I am sold on is kind of what I told y'all from the jump. KJ Bolden. Told you a couple weeks ago. I said I don't believe in Trader. I don't think that's happening. Just my own personal opinion on that one. He ends up committing to Miami like a week after I said that. What I did say was if I had to pick, I always felt like Bolden was more likely than Trader. I still feel that way, though I do not believe the recent hype that Florida State will get his commitment on the 5th. I've said this all along, and I'm going to stick to what I've always said about KJ Bolden. He will commit to, I believe, Georgia. Though I do hear Ohio State has made him one of those. I believe Ohio State has made him one of those offers. From what I understand, one of those too good to refuse offers. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that one, but I believe Ohio State is giving him a great offer. I don't think that's what KJ wants to do. Someone else in his camp may want to do that, but he does not want to do that, right? So Ohio State, because of that offer, you can never rule out that. I believe he commits to Georgia on the 5th. However, I've said this all along, and I'll continue to say this. It does not mean Florida State is out of the woods here. It does not mean Florida State's out of the competition here, especially if he keeps his word and he takes that official visit November 11th. So I've always felt that way about KJ. I think the recent buzz on KJ is I don't want to say it's not legit. I just don't think it's enough to get the initial commitment. And in a way, and this is just me kind of speaking here, I'd much rather be the hunter instead of the hunted in this particular recruitment. Meaning, I'd much rather be the team that's trying to get his commitment than keep his commitment going into the season. Just my own personal outlook on that. That's just me, though. I think he's going to commit to Georgia. I think Ohio State's a legit threat. I think Florida State has definitely gained ground. What I don't buy, and this is not a knock, but it's public information, so I'm going to talk about it. I don't buy the narrative that if KJ was committing today, the 21st of July, it would be Florida State. I don't buy it. If you buy that, again, I can sell you a beach house in Alaska if you buy that. I don't buy those type of listen, bro. If he was gonna commit to Florida State today, then you would put in a crystal ball for Florida State in August the 5th. Don't sell people wolf tickets to get your clicks up, because that's what that is. Georgia ain't gonna be a different Georgia in 2 weeks. What are we talking about? Georgia's not gonna be a different Georgia in 2 weeks. And KJ Bolden's the type of player that you're not pussyfooting around with, for lack of a better term. You put everything out on the table for KJ. So all these people that's like, well, anything can happen. They could offer him a bag between now and then. You don't think Georgia's already offered him the bag? Especially with the rumor that what Ohio State has offered him. So you don't think he's already been offered multiple big bags from multiple schools? You don't think Florida State's offered him a bag? It might not be as big as Ohio State. It might not be as big as Georgia, but it's a competitive bag. You don't think he's been offered these things by these other institutions? So the notion that if he could commit today, it would be Florida State. But, anything could happen in the next 2 weeks, and I'm not so sure because then people want to throw the money situation out there because you never know what someone could offer in NIL. Bro, the offers are out there. KJ knows what he's worth. These teams know what he's worth. No one's shortchanging this kid because he's at the top on everybody's board. Talking about the number one safety in the class. What is KJ? Is he like a top 5 player in the country? Let's look real quick. Let me look real quick. Player rankings. Of course, we're using the composite. KJ Bolden. He's right outside the top 10. He's the number 11th overall player in the entire country. And we're talking about teams they already haven't presented their entire spread to this young man. Stop the ridiculousness. Stop it. KJ knows what he's been offered. He's been offered what he's been offered. So I don't believe that narrative. If you believe it, then sure. I don't believe that if KJ was committing today, it'd be Florida State. What are y'all talking about in the comments here? KJ is 65-35 Georgia. What's up, FSU World? Jaleel Solomon is 50-50. Georgia just had a safety decommit. Yes, they did. Man, if we get Bolden on the 5th, makes sense. Why Bolden dad was decked out of OSU gear? You said it, not me. There are beaches in Alaska, though. There are beaches in Alaska. Would you buy a beach house in Alaska? There's beaches in Greenland too. There's beaches in Antarctica. So yeah. I don't care about any of these commits and decommits when the games haven't been played yet. Well, you should, Marcus. You should care. Recent trends say, even from Florida State, majority of the class that you secure in these months are the guys that are sticking with you regardless of the season you have. And that includes Florida State. When we were having the bad 2 seasons, 20 and 21, right? Yeah, 20 and 21, the 3-win season and the 5-win season. Majority of the class was locked up before the season started. And they were able to get guys, a little later on, but the bulk of your classes, this is the time where you secure the bulk of your class. And it's one of the reasons why I don't totally buy the narrative that recruiting in June and July don't matter. So I'll use this as an example. I think there are certain kids that will decommit as the season progresses or doesn't go away that it's supposed to go. I also think there are kids that know exactly what they're committing to and they don't care necessarily how a season goes. Right? You saw it last year with Miami. Them boys that they recruited, they all got those guys early on. With the with what? Who they only lose? Rashada, who ended up at Arizona State, and of course Cormani McClain. Everybody else stuck through a 5-7 season with them. These kids are going to stick it out. You should care about July recruiting. The trend has been July recruiting matters. I don't even know we was even on the radar, KJ. Oh, you got to pay attention then, Maurice. We definitely on the radar. Right, Tyler. I'm glad Tyler understands what I'm saying. Hey, KJ, we really want you to be a Bulldog. Oh! I would have committed to Florida State, but that did it. That did it. But that's what they tell you. That's the kind of crap they tell you. Appreciate it, Noles 850. And then Marcus says, "Quote, recent trends say we end up lowering the rankings when it matters. Don't do that. That's why I don't care. It will matter." Just speaking on Florida, but see, that's why I think. So to be fair with what you're saying, because what you're saying isn't wrong. That's why I think it matters in July. So our recent trends you're absolutely right, and I've been critical of this from the jump. We don't close strong. Though last year we closed relatively okay. The POLK miss killed us, but we did close on Hussey and Edward Joseph. Those were the two big ones. Am I missing someone else? I think we got the linebacker too, but yeah, we're not gonna get into linebacker stuff tonight. I mean, we did close in on Hussey and Edward. If we could have held on to POLK, that would have been nice. We've had problems, I think, with closing on major prospects. But that just goes back to my point that the guys we're getting in July, those are the guys that are making your class. So that's why I say you should care more so about July recruiting, because those are the guys, Luke and Cam, those are the guys that's making your class. I want to play music right here. Hold on. We don't do anything strong. Not the start, not the summer, not the close. We just seem to do pretty well. That's a decent point too from Briley. When it comes to recruiting, I actually agree with that. We don't seem to be strong in any particular area of recruiting. We just seem to do it particularly well. We definitely don't close strong. I do think we usually have pretty good summers. Problem is it's not really, again, it's not closed well. But Let's get it. Says if we can't close, the major changes need to be made. We do need to make major changes. I don't know. I mean, I know, but I don't want to get on that. We've beaten that dead horse. We know what changes need to be made on this staff, right? We know. I think we know. We all know. I don't think there's any need to be a dead horse. Appreciate that. Hit the like. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to be right back. All right, we back in the building. My fault. Um, Good X's and O coaches, but lacking with recruiting specialists. Old Charles Kelly was not a great D coordinator, but he could recruit. We've improved in recruiting, though. That's all that matters. We do pretty well because our defensive recruiting is mid at best. Um, if it was on par with the if it was on par with the offense, we would be. That's um, Marcus thinks the staff is a little bit too picky and selective. Um, maybe. So, but those are the big things, right? Lester, man, Lester's got everybody riled up because I know Lester's the one guy that everybody is. I mean, I've been saying that. I think Lester's been a Florida State lock, right? Lester's the guy that I'm putting in this class. And to potentially hear, oh no, this guy's going to Colorado. It's Deion all over again. And to Deion's credit, he's made a splash every year. Who's to say this year won't be different? We're gonna see. But the trend has been a late flip. It has not been, a guy this early. So I'm not too worried on Deion. And then the KJ Bolden stuff picking up some steam. With that, again, I think KJ. I don't think Florida State's out of it. I just don't think August 5th is when that recruitment's done. That's just me. Do I question the Surtain hire if we were to miss on Lester? I'd have some words about it. I don't want to question Surtain's hire until some games are played. I'm not even going to lie to you. I want to give him that. As has been my problem with people that have already started. There have been people that have already started to question the Patrick Surtain hire. But again, that's social media, and that's an echo chamber where people just talk to like-minded people, and nothing constructive really gets said on social media, right? So people have already started to question that hire. I think it's ridiculous to question that hire. However, if you miss on Lester, then there was obviously some disconnect between Surtain and Lester if you miss on him. And so I have to then say, ooh, because this is a guy who said all the right things about being a Nole. This is like when I talk about Odell and I go, all the kids say he's the GOAT. Go listen to all the interviews when they're asked, what do you think, man, he's the GOAT? And then none of them choose to play for him. And I would have a problem with, Patrick Dames, he's a great corner, but I don't want to play for him. So I'm not going to question it. I want to see games be played first, but I'd have some stuff to say. Y'all want to talk about Jeremiah Smith? I don't even really want to talk about that. I don't. Out of the three, that's the one that I don't. I put zero stock into that one, guys. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I don't put a lot of stock in Jeremiah, man. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. If we want to get back to recruiting with the big dogs, and listen, guys, y'all know this as well as I know this. In Florida State, I've spoken about this before. Florida State in their prime recruiting, not only could they go into South Florida, but in a lot of ways they had the Georgia, especially the South Georgia area on lock. Well, Georgia's a different beast now. Totally understand that. But if you want to get back to being competitive in the South Georgia area, in the state of Georgia overall, well, excuse me, you can't lose Charles Lester to the Colorado Buffaloes. Let's just call the spade a spade. I don't disagree with the salty Chris Fowler is saying. I don't disagree with that. Appreciate that, Anthony. Salute to you. So then you're blaming Adam Fuller, which I know there's some people that's going to blame him anyway. But if we're going to say that this class was building off relationships over the past 2 years, what's the common denominator in that secondary coaching? Adam Fuller does coach the safeties there. And I recall Lester's last visit to Florida State. Adam Fuller was prominently in the background of that video talking to mom and all of them. Looked like he actually has a great relationship with Fuller and the family. If y'all know the video I'm talking about. So if 2 years of Adam Fuller and that great relationship on top of Patrick Surtain, and you can't pull Lester, again, it's a problem. Do y'all think Deion Sanders was recruiting Lester 2 years ago? I don't know that. I could be wrong, but I don't know that. I agree. I agree. I agree with that too. Chris Fowler's making some solid points. Y'all got to understand that sometimes kids drop next. Listen, if I got a list of Miami, Maryland, Texas A&M, and I don't remember his exact list, and the school I choose is Maryland, I'm going to say you threw a couple schools in there just to make your hat game look a little nicer, but the truth is how many of those offers were really committable? So we'll see what happens. But Sporadic says Deion actually was recruiting him a couple years ago. So shout out to Deion, but it's on Fuller if we don't get Lester. There you go. There you go. Does Mike need more than 20? You're not asking, but I'm reading your question or your comment as a question. Does Mike need to get more than 25 in the class? Mike needs to stop worrying about having a big class and losing half the class next year in the portal. Your comment's sort of contradicting itself here. Maybe I'm not reading it right. Someone help me out. You're saying Mike needs to get more than 25 in the class. Then you're saying Mike needs to stop worrying about having a big class. Well, more than 25 is a big class. And then you're saying and losing half the class next year in the portal. I'm trying to make sense of that one. I'm not even going to lie to you, Marcus. My bad. Somebody help me out with that one. Well, like I said, you could see Adam Fuller was all in the videos. He was like Puff Daddy, all in the videos in the back. Again, you can just draw the dots. Fire up the Adam Fuller space. You missed Lester. They may very well do that. But we'll see what happens, guys. I feel good about Lester. I'm not worried about Lester. And I would even argue, and I know this isn't going to be popular, I would even argue, let's say he commits to Deion Sanders in Colorado July 28th or 29th, whatever it is. If Colorado wins 4 games, y'all think Lester wants to go play for that? I'm going to tell you where the rubber's going to meet the road for Deion. First of all, y'all already know I've said this. I don't even think Deion is a long-tenured coach. I've been saying this for a long time. I think he's only here for his son. Once his son graduates, he is no longer going to coach college football. So that means you only got 2 more years of Deion. So if you only have 2 more years of Deion, anybody in this recruiting class and beyond might want to reconsider actually going to play for him. Because you're not going to have not only is it his son, which I think is the primary reason that he's only going to be around. But then, of course, his health is he's not in the best health right now. I think he's having another procedure. in the near future. And he just had a recent surgery, and we know he's lost some toes. There was a threat that he might lose a foot. Um, his health isn't great. I only think he's doing this for his son Shadur. So I don't think Deion's going to be coaching for the next 6 years in college football. I don't care if it's Colorado or wherever. So all these people that's like, man, Deion will be coaching Florida State one day. Deion's not coaching once his son graduates football. Period. Once his son graduates college, Deion will no longer be a coach. That's my point. Why are you going to, I can't be the only one who sees that. Am I the only one in the chat that sees that trajectory in the next few years of Deion Sanders, or is that just me being a conspiracy theorist? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a conspiracy theorist, or you can actually see the writing on the wall. Again, look in the stars. Y'all tell me what y'all see. Why would you go play for him? And then you pull the number one corner in Cromartie McClain. You pull the number one corner in Travis Hunter. If those guys don't go first round, and I'm not sure Travis Hunter's going to go first round as a corner. He may go first round as a receiver. We'll see how they use him. But if they don't go first round, why would you continue? How does he continue to play for that or sell that? Excuse me. How do you continue to sell? Well, I'm Deion Sanders. I'm the greatest DB of all time, but you ain't produced nobody yet. You ain't got nobody drafted yet. He's been coaching. What has it been? 2-3 years now, and he ain't got nobody drafted yet. So Hunter and Cromartie is his legacy, right? It's his legacy. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure he's going to be around to see Cromartie get drafted. Hunter's going to be getting drafted by the time I think Deion leaves college football. That's his legacy. It's just a lot of things there. It's very interesting. I love Norvell, but y'all can imagine what coverage hype around the program if she was here. And if you agree with that, Sister Rel, yeah, that's just you. I'm the only one that sees that. Okay, no, that's exactly how I feel. So I'm not the only one who sees that. You missed the Pac-12. Yeah, that's my point. His health is, Sporadics agrees with me. Deion's finesse his son's a D1 starting spot in the wildest way. Ain't that wild? Nobody sees that. If you say that, you're wrong. But nobody sees that. Deion, and I don't think Shadur's a bad quarterback. I want to be clear about that. Let's say let's say Deion decided to stay at Jackson State, but Shadur decided, I'm going to hit the portal because I want to go play D1 ball. How many D1 schools you think would have really considered Shadur Sanders? You think it would have been an uphill climb for him? I think it would have. I'm not saying he wouldn't have found a job. I just think it would have been an uphill climb. But by Deion taking that job and basically, like he said, I don't even know if finesse is the right word, but he guaranteed his spot as a Power 5 starting quarterback by following his father to the next job. Shadur didn't have to compete for nothing. I ain't mad at it. It is what it is. We just talking Lester and Bolden as of right now. POLK, wouldn't you say it's even more of an indictment on Deion if Trevor Hunter fully spot? You could argue that too. You could argue that. I don't disagree with that. You could argue that. If you can't turn Hunter into a DB and he has to move to receiver, I mean, the kid said he was going to play DB for you. So it's going to be interesting. I'd be interested to see where he would have gone. Yeah, he absolutely did. I think Shadur can spin it too. I'm not saying he can't throw. Again, I'm not saying Shadur isn't a good quarterback. I'm very excited to watch Shadur in the Pac. And first of all, it's the Pac-12. So if there's one thing I know, he's going to put up some numbers. And honestly, because it's the Pac-12, is another reason why I think Travis Hunter should just make the full-time switch. Just make the full. There ain't no defense in that league. Just make the full-time switch to wide receiver. You'll be a guaranteed 1,000-yard receiver as much as they're going to throw the ball. I just hope the old line can hold up for Shadur's sake. But again, it's the Pac-12. Again, he picked the perfect spot for him and his son. Because, I don't think the old line is going to be great at Colorado. Outside of maybe Utah, name me a big-time defense in the Pac-12. You can't. So I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. What year did we take 25 plus? I honestly don't know. That's why I'm asking. I can look it up real quick. Let me see. When's the last time Mike? When did we take 25 plus? So if you go to last year, we took 19. Okay. If you go to 2022, we took 17. If you go to 2021, we took 17. Now 2021 is legit. I mean, that's the Mike Norvell's like first legit class. So now if you're grading the COVID year, then I think you got to put an asterisk by that, Marcus. I think you got to take that into consideration. So yes, you're taking the COVID year, which I don't think is a fair comparison. For one, everybody's COVID year has had major transfer portal overhaul. Almost every team in the country, COVID classes didn't hit. A majority of those classes didn't hit. So you got to put an asterisk by that. Not only that year is combined with guys that were recruited by Taggart and that Mike Norvell brought on late. That's a wipe year. That's the year that you didn't get people to visit campuses. Oh no, that's the following year. I'm gonna take that back. The 20 year that's the year Willie got fired, and so you did. But then again, he still took over Florida State late, right? So it's still a year that I wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that. But I understand what you're trying to say. But I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that. I legit stopped watching that spring game about 10 minutes in. I said, "Oh, this is fake." I said, "Oh, this is staged." If you couldn't see that watching that, bro. Fatal Jedi was good with you. I've been saying that with his health, and then I don't think his intention was ever. Do y'all really think Deion's intention was to coach football for the next 10 years? Deion got into coaching. What is Deion like? Deion's already like 50-something years old. How old is Deion? I think Deion's damn near 60, bro. Deion. Deion, how old is this guy? Deion was born in August 9th, 1967. So I'm not good at math. How old does that make Deion Sanders? 55. So yeah, he's damn near 60. So Deion got into coaching at the age of 50. Y'all really think Deion's coaching until he's 70? Come on, bro. Deion's not coaching for the next 10 years. There's no conspiracy to what I'm saying. He only got into coaching when his son went to college. That's not some breaking news. I mean, that's obvious. It's obvious he's invested a lot into Shadur. Shadur's the quarterback. Has he invested anything? And I'm not knocking parenting. I'm just saying Look at the way he's moved. Has he invested anything into those other sons that he's had? She's invested everything into Shadur. Shadur is the golden ticket, so to speak. He is the future of the legacy that is Deion Sanders. He's done everything up until this point for Shadur Sanders. This is directed completely towards Shadur and his future. He's not going to be coaching another 10 years after Shadur leaves. Everything that has been done strictly for Shadur Sanders. Shadur did not seriously consider Louisville. I know you want to believe that, Marco, and I know people are telling you that. No. 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 Shadur was going wherever his father was going. What's up, Zoe? Oregon State, I mean, yeah, they shut Florida down, so shout out to Oregon State. What's up, AJ? If Colorado went 6-6, give Deion Coach of the Year. I'm not even lying. I'm not even playing. He can make a bowl game. He should be Coach of the Year. And I'll make this last point about Deion because I don't want to spend this much time. I don't even know how we got here, but y'all know how we do. We just bounce around on topics. I'll make this last point on Deion because this comment right here kind of reminds me of the whole point. But if Deion was the real deal, when I say real deal, meaning in it for the long haul, he doesn't try to flip Colorado in 6 months. They don't have 50-plus transfer portal guys out the door in 6 months. He would have built that thing gradually. He flipped that thing so quick so he can be as competitive as soon as possible for Shadur's sake. He doesn't care what happens after he leaves in Colorado. And they're going to be in for a rude awakening when that happens. So anybody that thinks I'm just pulling stuff out of my, again, straw hat here, you got to actually pay attention to the moves that's being made. You believe the Pac-12 is better than the ACC? I disagree. The draft would disagree with you. The location would disagree with you. Yeah, I just disagree. Like, I stand by this, and I said this last year, and I'll say it again. I don't know what USC is going to be this year. FSU last year would have beat USC. Heisman Trophy player and all that. FSU last year, I believe, would have beat USC. They had a quarterback and they had skill position guys. They had no defense to speak of, and they had no O-line or D-line that was worth a grain of salt. One thing I'm almost positive of is that Jared Verse would have had a field day against USC's offensive line. Almost positive. I do not believe the Pac-12 is better than, especially when you talk about up front. I don't believe that. Clemson will go over there and be undefeated in the Pac-12. I guarantee it. Just the style of football and how Clemson and teams like Clemson and Florida State are built. That's why do you think Utah is so successful? Utah doesn't fit the mold of a typical Pac-12 team. That's why Utah is able to manhandle USC and manhandle the Oregons because they don't fit the mold of spread them out, throw the ball 50 times. They don't do that. Utah plays defense. Utah has a front seven. Utah has guys in the trenches. I don't think the Pac-12 is better than the ACC. I really don't. But that's your opinion, Zoe. Chris says, I think if Deion was serious, he would have took it. And that's another thing. Again, I think the Colorado was geared towards his son. If he was serious, bro, you don't flip a roster in 6 months. Because we all know depth is key in football. But again, I don't want to talk about Deion no more, y'all. Y'all make me talk about Deion. I don't want to talk about Deion no more. I'm gonna watch him. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna watch every Colorado game because I'm interested to see how it works out. I honestly am. I'm interested to see, can you flip a roster in 6 months? I'm interested to see it. I'm interested to see Jordan Travis. Well, of course, I'm interested to see Jordan Travis, Heisman winner. But I'm interested to see Travis Hunter. And can he? What is he? Is he a receiver? Is he a corner? I'm interested to see that. I'm interested to see is D-Mac going to be the best defensive end in the country like he claims to be? After having 3 sacks for Florida State last year, is he going to, I don't know, can he at least double that production in the Pac-12? We'll see. So there's a lot of things about Colorado that I'm very interested in watching. Not so sure about that, but you chose Wake Forest and Duke and went to Oregon State and Utah. Oregon State, well, I'll go. Utah and Oregon are equivalent to, in recent years, NC State. Pitt's won the conference. Those type of teams. Oregon State just had a good year, but don't get it twisted. I want you to go look at the previous years of Oregon State football. Duke had a solid year. I mean, Wake Forest is Wake Forest. They're pretty competitive. I mean, again, it's a different brand of football. If I throw Wake Forest's team in the Pac-12, do you think they would be competitive in the Pac-12? Because I damn sure do. You're not mentioning Stanford or Washington State. He says this year's the Pac-12 is better. I think the Pac-12 might have better offenses. I'm not so sure the Pac-12 has better teams. I understand the Pac-12 has. The perfect example, bro, for the Pac-12, go look at Bo Nix in the SEC compared to Bo Nix at Oregon. And you tell me, and I will throw the ACC in the SEC category. I'm not saying the ACC is the SEC, but it is Southeastern football regardless. The only difference, in my opinion, between the SEC and the ACC isn't necessarily the talent. It's a coaching level. And the SEC pays their coaches better, so they have better caliber of coaching in the SEC and the ACC. That's the major difference of the two conferences. The players come from the same places in the ACC and the SEC. The player and the talent is comparable. The draft will tell you that. The difference damn, that quick, I forgot what I was saying. But yes, I think Wake would be competitive in the Pac-12. And yeah, I just – that's the big difference is the coaching. The coaching. Bo Nix is what I was talking about. Bo Nix. I want you to go look at Bo Nix in a conference that – in conferences that – go look at Bo Nix against Georgia last year. Go look at Bo Nix in the conferences that actually play defense – when he was at Auburn, they go watch him light it up at Oregon. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Proof's in the pudding. It's not a secret visit. He's supposed to be taking a visit to Colorado, though. I respect Chip Kelly and UCLA. I think UCLA is actually my dark horse in that conference. I think that's a team that they're absolutely sleeping on. First of all, I'm a huge Chip Kelly fan, especially when we talk about college ball. Utah's Utah. USC has the Heisman winner. Oregon's Oregon. I don't think Oregon State's anything legit. Washington has Penix, and I get it, but we'll see. Again, when you name those teams or any of those teams outside of USC, like playoff, I don't. Again, UCLA is my dark horse in that conference, but I don't see playoffs for any of those teams outside of USC. Oregon's interesting, right? Um, Utah, I believe, gives anybody a fit because of the way because styles make fights. I think the way Utah plays football could be competitive with anybody. Again, I think Florida State would have, I won't say ran through USC, but we would have beat USC. Maybe similar to that Oklahoma game. Um, Oregon, ah, if Bo Nix is your quarterback, I got no faith in Oregon, bro. I'm not even going to cap on you. Oregon State, why? Just because they beat Florida 30-3? No. You said Utah twice. Washington. Uh, mm. Bro, my problem is you talk about teams that I don't believe play defense. So that's just me, though. Um, and that's true too. Utah lost to Florida, right? So it's like, bro, it's like y'all we can pick and choose teams, but it's like, I mean, by name value alone, but you're not giving me anything other than name. You're not like again. I said, told you, go watch Bo Nix in the Pac-12 compared to him in the SEC. You tell me that all of a sudden Bo Nix became a better quarterback, or did the defenses get easier to read and manage? You just named a bunch of teams, but I mean, I can name North Carolina has Drake May and one of the top offenses in the country as well. Florida State, we know they're gonna have one of the top offenses in the country. Clemson in the business like they are every year. Who's to say? I mean, dare I say, Galaxy, you're a Miami fan. According to PFF, y'all have more ACC All Americans than any team in the ACC. So why shouldn't Miami be in the mix? Why shouldn't Miami be in the mix? I mean, I can name out some teams in the ACC. I can name some ACC teams. Um, Mike Norvell wins Coach of the Year. Jordan Travis is a Heisman. Is a H. What I think you're trying to say Heisman. What do I think Miami's record would be in the Pac-12? I think they'd fit right in the Pac-12 because no defense is played. Miami would actually probably have the best defense in the Pac-12, if I'm being honest with you. When you say make it, what does that mean? Because when's the last time Washington's won the Pac-12? When the last time any team other than Utah or Oregon has won the Pac-12? Hell, when's the last time USC has won the Pac-12? They didn't win it last year, and I don't believe they won it the year before. When you say make it, what do you mean? Because I think Wake Forest has a type of offense that would translate to the Pac-12. Wholeheartedly, I believe that. Even though I know they lost the quarterback that they just had. But especially with that guy, Hartman, if he would, man, Wake Forest would have went over to and scored a ton of points in the Pac-12. With those receivers and that quarterback they had the previous year, you've lost your mind. you lost it. Zoe's lost it, y'all. Zoe's lost it. Zoe lost it. I don't believe that. They would outscore us. Okay. I don't believe that. It all starts up front. And you're telling me that their front can block our guys. So LSU couldn't block Fabian Lovett and Jared Verse, but you're telling me a Pac-12 team's going to do it. Did you watch USC get manhandled by Utah on their defensive front? I'm just asking questions. I just don't believe. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. I would be terrified as a Noel fan if I would not be. Wow, that's that's so interesting to me. You have a you have a defense that you can say what you want to say, but you have a defense that has uh, was top 15 in the country. Was any Pac-12 defenses top 15 in the country? I honestly don't know that. Um, then you can compare that. So even if you think our defense would have struggled in the Pac-12, even though again, show me the offensive lines that I think would be able to block versus in the boys. I don't see it. But let's argue for the sake of argument. You think our defense struggles in the Pac-12? Name me the Pac-12 defense that then would stop our offense. Name me the Pac-12 defense that matches up against Johnny Wilson and Keon Colvin and Trey Benson and Jordan Travis. I'm just asking questions. I think UNC probably fit in perfectly. I don't care about preseason polls. If you don't know that, I don't care about preseason polls. I think they're worthless, and teams shouldn't even hit a preseason polls to be done away with. Teams shouldn't hit a ranking until 4 or 5 games into the season. Um, okay. Oregon State was the highest ranked defense at 26, right in front of Utah. That's the team I was thinking of, not FSU. POLK, there were only 3 Pac-12 teams in the top 50. But somehow ACC teams wouldn't manage over there. Somehow, as a Florida State fan, you should be worried. There's only 3 teams in the top 50 in defense in the entire Pac-12. But if Florida State played in the Pac-12, y'all should fear for y'all life. Now, Florida State would average 50 in the Pac-12, especially this year's Florida State team. Trey Benson would have ran for 1,000 yards in last year's Pac-12. I don't care what y'all think about Adam Fuller, whether he's a good defensive coordinator or not. We would have had the best defense in that conference and a top 3 offense in that conference. Well, then they're damn sure ain't a Pac-12 defense that can match up with us then. Remains to be seen. He has the name, and I know TCU went to the championship last year. Georgia embarrassed that offense last year, but that is Georgia. That I don't know. That doesn't mean everybody can do what Georgia obviously was capable of doing. It remains to be seen. His name is Garrett Riley, so the expectation is through the roof because of who his brother is. I don't know. I want to say that's a good hire for them, but it remains to be seen. So I love it. I love we talked about Deion. We talked about Pac-12 ball, and I personally enjoy watching Pac-12 ball because I like Zoe. I watched Pac-12 ball too, especially when I was in Hawaii. You could catch all the Pac-12 games because they would come on like regular time, where all the other games would be like early in the morning. So Pac-12 ball, I paid a lot of attention to Pac-12 ball. I enjoy Pac-12 ball because it's fun to watch. Again, UCLA is my dark horse in the Pac-12. I think that is a good football team, especially offensively. I'm just saying that I don't think an ACC team. Now, am I saying throw Duke over there? No, they're Duke. I mean, Miami loses to Duke. Florida State doesn't lose to Duke. But you hear my point. Got to throw that shot in there. But they're Duke. So am I saying throw Duke in the mix? No. Am I saying throw Syracuse over there? Nah. Georgia Tech? Nah. Those are bad football teams all around, no matter what conference. They're probably bad football teams. Well, not Duke. Duke's not a bad football team. Duke was actually a fairly decent football team last year. The point is, I guess the argument is that Pac-12 has they're more top heavy. I guess the argument is that Pac-12 is more top heavy. I just think some of those teams we're putting in there, like when you start throwing Oregon State in there, I just don't buy that. I just don't buy that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, but the Pac-12 is fun to watch, though. I'll give you that. But I don't buy the Pac-12 just because they blew out a terrible Florida team, and I will not do this often. But in Florida's defense, Anthony Richardson doesn't play. They were playing like the third string quarterback. I mean, okay, you know, just because you did that to Florida, I don't buy Oregon State. Washington is always supposed to be something every year, and they're 8-win team. They're good for 8 wins yearly. Okay, cool, but I don't know. Right, it's like watching basketball. The Pac-12 is definitely fun. But I don't know. I think Pac-12 has some fun ball. I think there's a reason why Pac-12 is. Damn, why does it keep doing it? I think there's a reason why the Pac-12 doesn't match up with those teams from the Southeast. They don't match up very well with those teams. I mean, you saw Oregon get demolished against Georgia. Again, nobody addressed the Bo Nix. Can somebody give me any feedback on what I said about Bo Nix? Y'all watch Bo Nix at Auburn? Who didn't watch Bo Nix at Auburn? Okay. By the way, the man had the same offensive coordinator in Auburn that he had at Oregon. So it's not like he had better coaching. Kenny Dillingham coached him at Auburn, came to Florida State, then went and coached him in Oregon. So it's not like. By the way, he also had Gus Malzahn coaching at Auburn, so there's a double whammy there. So it's not like he was getting better coaching at Oregon. Why did he struggle so hard at Auburn and was lights out in the Pac-12? By the way, if you didn't watch the Oregon UNC bowl game last year, if UNC had a sniff of defense, they would have beaten Oregon. But they don't. But UNC fits right into that conference, to be honest with you. UNC would beat majority of those teams. But it'd be shootouts for sure. So no one addressed the Bo Nix thing that I mentioned. Why is that? Why was Bo Nix so much better at Oregon? I find it funny that no one addressed that. Shout out to Jeff. He hit him with a $10 don't know. He says, all I know is I hope by 2026, I hope that God we're out of this garbage conference. I don't disagree with you there, man. And Sucky TV Network and the horrible refs. End of the day, man, we want to be out of this terrible conference that is the ACC. Shout out to Jeff, man, and he is 100% right.
Jeff.
Y'all do me a favor and hit that like button.
Go your motherfucking ass to sleep. Whoa, shit, what the fuck good buddy hit me with? I told him I wasn't sleepy. He had to have a brick in that bitch.
Maurice says, it's a fact. Bo Nix turned into a decent player the moment he stopped playing SEC defenses. Matt J says, that's because you're 100% right. That's why nobody wants to mention nobody wants to address my Bo Nix argument. And no, sir, not me. Says Bo Nix got destroyed by UGA. Okay, so what are we talking about next, y'all? Good job. We've gone from Lester to KJ to Deion to Pac-12. What's next on the docket? I'm here. Let me know. Y'all tell me. By the way, if y'all haven't had any of this, Bumbu, this is like my new drink of choice, guys. This is good stuff. That is some good stuff. Bumbu, hit me up. I need a sponsor. Lil Wayne, holla at me. That is Lil Wayne's rum, though. That's some good stuff, though. Oh, okay. One thing we didn't talk about, since nobody's really saying much, but here's one thing. There's one thing we didn't talk about because I don't really. Again, Jeremiah Smith. Y'all may or may not want to talk about that one. Does anybody in the chat really think we are in a legit space to get Jeremiah Smith? I'm just curious. Tell them so. I talk about anything. Hell, we ain't even gotta talk football. We ain't even gotta talk football. We can talk fast food burgers. What's the best fast food burger out there? I promise you, we can make a whole hour conversation on that. That's what we do over here. Terrible Florida takes on how their season is going to go. Everybody knows how that's going to go. What do you think of Nick O'Leary? I would love that. It's always 50-50, right? On former, I think every fan base, like everybody loves to bring the good old the homegrown boys home. So I'm not against it. Just temper your expectations. Don't, I mean, but I'm not against it at all. I would love to see it. But let's not expect Nick O'Leary to come and be, the next Bobby Bowden or something. Give him time. Obviously, he'll be joining as what off-field coach or a GA or something. I don't know. He'd be one of the guys in the background before actually probably getting a position. My drink is water right now, trying to cut this way. Hey, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I fix it. Bro, how are you even living with bad air conditioning, bro? Oof. Oof. No to Jeremiah. I know Galaxy King is talking as a Miami fan, but I actually think he's correct. Thank you, Ed. No, I won't be in Orlando. I'm not gonna. Most likely, I won't even be. I'll be on the West Coast, so I got to do my my service. And for the entire month of August, I'll be in the desert, and so for that, I should be getting home. Hopefully, I'll be getting home in time to actually watch the game. I know I'm not going to get home in time to make a trip all the way to Orlando. And same things, we can get Smith. Our wide receiver class is solid as a stance. Adding JoJo or Smith is just icing. My drink is got you that. But I think Mason is back. I think they've kept him out of not. I know like he didn't participate in the spring, but I'm almost positive he's back. Like if I had to guess, obviously I'm not an LSU fan, nor am I in tune with what they got going on. But if I had to guess, Mason Smith, I believe is his name. Yeah, Mason Smith. They will expect him. Excuse me. They're going to expect him to play. They're going to expect him to play. So good to see him back, believe it or not, because our interior offensive line is going to be that much better. So I am great player, but we're getting better. So I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping on Mason. Oh, this ain't the first desert I've been in, insane, so I ain't worried about that. I'm accustomed to being in the desert, believe it or not. Josh said, if you were to say that Bama or Georgia fell short of the playoff, would you pick to play for? Let me do you one better, Josh. I'm going to do this. Since I won't be around in the month of August, which means y'all probably not going to get an LSU preview from me. But in July, believe it or not, I got a bold prediction for y'all. And if Sarge is still in the chat, he's not going to like this. And I have nothing but respect for Georgia, believe it or not. I'm not a Georgia Bulldog hater at all. I think the SEC misses the playoff for the first time this year. I think I'm not saying Georgia has an easy schedule, but I want you to also check Georgia's history at quarterbacks under Mark Stoops. I'm not sold that post Stetson Bennett era is going to be as they recruit the position, don't get me wrong, but they always recruited the position. They had Justin Fields and Jake Fromm. They had these guys. They've had guys. I'm not sold on their quarterback situation. I'm not sold that they are going to replace Stetson Bennett like that. And while they don't have a tough schedule, they do play Tennessee. They do play Florida for what it's worth. South Carolina will be a tricky game for them. I don't think Georgia makes the playoff. I don't think an SEC team makes the playoff. I think LSU. I think the best. I don't know who's going to win it. I'm going to see the winner of the SEC though is a 2-loss team. I think everybody in the SEC will at least lose 2 games this year. I believe that, and I know I'll probably catch a lot of heat for that. But that's why predictions are predictions, and you ain't got to make easy predictions, right? I think everybody in the SEC will have 2 L's this year. Everybody. Georgia can still win the SEC. I just think they're going to have 2 losses. I think my Final Four this year is going to be, believe it or not, Texas. And I'm going to say this about Texas. If they don't make it, Sark should be in trouble. The guy's recruiting at an incredible clip. Texas is by far the most talented team in the Big 12. Texas arguably shouldn't lose a game in the Big 12. Texas Longhorns should be in the playoff. The USC Trojans, I will pick to make the playoffs. I am debating between Ohio State and Michigan. Until Ohio State beats Michigan, I'm kind of leaning towards Michigan because Ohio State is another team that they're losing their quarterback. So I'm not sure how they replace C.J. Stroud. So as of right now, I got Michigan, Texas, USC, and the good old boys in the playoffs. I'm just saying. That last one's a little bit biased on my part, but I don't think the SEC makes the playoffs this year. Polk, I'm more interested in UJ's defense. Did you see UJ's defense in spring game? I did not watch their spring game, to be honest with you. Something looked off. Beck was lighting them up too. Well, we'll see. One thing I'm not really worried about is their defense because they recruit defense at such an incredible clip. I'm just more worried about their offense. And that's just me, though. I can see it. If the SEC is as tough as they scream it is, 2-loss Bama and UJ isn't so far-fetched. I don't think it's far-fetched either. So, I think the SEC is going to miss the playoffs this year. I think they're going to miss the playoffs. That's my bold prediction. And like I said, Michigan, USC, Texas, Florida State. Michigan, Florida State, Oklahoma, Georgia. We got Oklahoma in the playoff? Over what Texas did to them last year? I don't know. I can't pick Oklahoma over Texas. And Georgia, I understand the Georgia pick because you got to give respect to the 2-time defending national champions. So I completely understand that pick. Michigan versus Florida State in the championship. FSU wins it all. But I ain't mad at the end result, bro. FSU wins it all. I ain't mad at that. Shout out to Keith. I think Hakeem gets redshirted. Wouldn't surprise me. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I know in today's college football, that's a black eye. Even though I don't think it's a bad thing. Hopefully Hakeem doesn't take that as a negative. Um, SEC will make it because the media will be sure they do. Programs like UGA, Bama, etc. get mulligans. One loss SEC team, yes, but if you have a bunch of one loss, if Texas and if all these a 2-loss SEC team getting in is not going to get. There's no way they can justify it. I understand what you're trying to say about media, blase, blase. There's no way they could justify putting a 2-loss Georgia in or a 2-loss Bama in, for that matter, over a 1-loss Texas. And I don't care who that loss is to. You can't justify it over a 1-loss USC. 1-loss Michigan. And that's assuming that these teams that I'm mentioning lose a game. Again, Texas is by far and away the most talented team in that conference. Everybody's talking about Drake May and Caleb Williams. And for good reason, they should be talking about Drake May and Caleb Williams. Y'all going to know who your boy Quinn Ewers is by the end of the year. Barring injury, you're going to know who Quinn Ewers is by the end of the year. Watch what I tell you. Y'all can write it down, clip this part of the video, whatever. Y'all going to know who Quinn Ewers is by the end of the year. Okay? Texas is by far and away the most talented team in that conference. That's assuming they even lose a game. Now, Bama's the game. They play Bama at Bama this year. Bama's the game. I'm telling you, Bama's the game. Texas can beat Bama, and they should have beat them last year. Quinn Ewers doesn't get hurt. I'm telling you right now, if Quinn Ewers didn't get hurt, Bama was dead last year. Bama's QB situation, ain't no more Bryce Young over there. I'm just telling you what it is. Texas beats Bama, you can wrap up. I think Texas is full go. USC will probably drop a game because that's kind of the trend for USC. You can split Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Michigan. That's a 50-50, go either way. And then, of course, Florida State got Clemson to deal with, and LSU. So Florida State can arguably lose either one of those two games, but as long as they win the rest, Florida State should be fine. I don't think a 2-loss SEC team gets in over any of those teams. I just don't see it. Okay, Ben, but if they lose the Florida State game 1, Ben, and then drop another SEC game, which is very likely, it's the SEC, right? Toughest conference in America. You think LSU would get in over a 1-loss Texas? You think LSU would get in over a 1-loss Florida State? Or for the sake of argument, let's make the argument a little harder. Because obviously they wouldn't get in over a 1-loss Florida State because Florida State beat them. But for 2-loss LSU, what if Clemson is the team that wins the ACC as a 1-loss Clemson team? Do you think they would get it over a 1-loss Clemson? Because I don't. I understand what y'all are saying. I know there's a SEC media bias. I get all that. A committee cannot just. I don't think they would open up an entire. There'd be the committee couldn't justify it. They couldn't justify it. Oh man, here comes Zoe with the BS. Zoe, man, if you're scared, go to church, bro. We ain't even gonna do that in July. This man thinks FSU will get everyone's, but we're Florida State. Why do you think a 3-loss Florida State team, a 3-win Florida State team in 2020 still had teams rushing the field after beating them? What are we talking about? We get everybody's best shot regardless, bro. We Florida State. That argument is out the window. It's been disproven. We're not Duke. We can't sneak up on anybody. ACC teams revel in the fact that they beat Florida State. Come on, bro. Teams still rush the field when they beat mediocre Florida State teams. Y'all tell Zoe to go to church. Zoe nervous around here. We ain't nervous. Terrell on some foolishness. Texas had Bama did the rights last year too. People forget that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They could definitely drop more than one game, Ben. You're not wrong. My point is that they're the most talented team, and that if Sark does drop more than 2 games, it might be time to get Sark. I mean, he's underperforming at this point. Ohio State or Michigan going undefeated, so you can count on there being an undefeated and a one-loss team getting to playoff. Well, you're definitely going to have that. The question is a 2-loss team. Like you could say what you want about the SEC. A 2-loss team ain't jumping Ohio State or Michigan. The name brand's too big. That ain't happening. Again, Texas, all the teams I mentioned have big names that you couldn't justify a SEC team getting the nod over a 1-loss any of these teams. So, so you laughing because you tripping. You're talking foolishness right now. No reason to be nervous, bro. You get you get everybody's best year in and year out. There's no such thing as Florida State sneaking up on anybody, especially in the ACC. There's no such thing. I hear you. Damien says the offseason narratives are getting more radical by the day. Miami fans trolling with questions about our strength and conditioning program. Miami of all teams, who do y'all talk to? First of all, you shouldn't even be. You should never engage in real football conversation with a sub 500 football program. At least that's what I was told the past couple years. We can't talk football because we're sub 500. So let's keep that same energy. You shouldn't even be talking real football with these guys, let alone talk about our strength and conditioning program. What? Have you not seen our team? I've seen our team in person. What are we talking about? Do we need to go to the list of the players and the sizes of these? Well, I don't understand. I don't understand what they're talking about. Yet Miami is the only team, if y'all recall. Shout out to T2Y when I was doing a show with T2Y and we went over Miami's roster and they got a legit 5'11", 260-pound offensive lineman, and we talking strength and conditioning at Florida State. You might want to check the rosters. Not buying Texas hype. They are overrated wherever they are at. I'm not disagreeing with that per se. And saying that Texas has been. I'm saying on paper, and I know the games aren't played on paper, bro. But I do think, first of all, I am a believer in Quinn Ewers and a healthy Quinn Ewers. That's number one. And on paper, I think Texas stacks up with not only anybody in the Big 12. I think they stack up with just about anybody in the country on paper. So, but I understand also that they were pretty talented last year and still ended up losing 5 games. So I get that. I wholeheartedly understand not buying the Texas hype. John has made it back. I never said Florida State was the most talented team in the ACC. Show me where I said that. I'm also not saying we're not, but show me where I said that we were the most talented team in the ACC. Because I never said that. But again, I'm also not saying we're not the most talented team in the ACC. I will stack our roster up against anybody's, though, if you want to go player for player. If we lose 4 games, bro, then there's gonna be a conversation to have. At worst, we should repeat last year. At worst, we should be a 9-3 team. At worst, we should be a 9-3 team. Which I know that's not going to be exciting for a lot of Florida State fans. I understand that. But 2 back-to-back 9-win seasons shouldn't be something to scoff. Like, it shouldn't be dismissed. But I understand how, with the expectation this year, that 9-3 might not hit as hard as it should. You lose any more than 3 games, and I think, y'all know me, I'm going to be on here, 10 toes down, talking about it. Not pulling any punches, because that's not what I do. I don't pull punches. I think money. Matt J, the short answer is money. 12 playoff games, that's 12 more games where schools get to make more money and the NCAA gets more revenue from tickets. At the end of the day, 12 more games is for money. And in my 12 games, I can have some great matchups in those 12 games too. That's what it's about, though. Ultimately, it's about money. In my humble opinion. Miami needs to win more than 6 games before they can say anything about it. Hey, y'all talk to John. I talked to John Shields. He in the chat. Y'all talk to him. Uh-oh, somebody in trouble back there. I don't know if y'all hear it. Damien says, I'll be honest, Randy has me thinking he just doesn't like certain types of backers. Bro, the proof's in the pudding with Randy. He definitely has a type. It's no different than your cousin that lives the next town over, and you keep asking yourself, why every girl he get built like a polar bear? Well, he's got a type. Randy's got a type. No, sometimes you just got to accept it that what you find attractive, other people don't find attractive. Your cousin like burly Sasquatch-looking females, and Randy likes his type of backer. He's got a type. You got to accept him. It is what it is. POLK, ranked recruiting classes and transfer portal rankings for the last 4 years. Canes have the better roster. Now we just need another season to get. I never said. First of all, I never said Florida State had the best roster. And where is this argument coming from, John? I never said FSU had the best roster in the ACC. But I want to be clear. If the games were just played on a spreadsheet, yeah, we can talk about recruiting classes and transfer portal rankings all day. Let me ask you a question. Is there a wide receiver on your team? You probably won't give me an honest answer, but I'll definitely ask the Florida State fans. Is there a wide receiver on Miami's team that would play for Florida State tomorrow? What about a running back? What about an offensive lineman? What about a tight end? Damn sure not a quarterback. The only player I can think off the top of my head that I know would start at Florida State is Cam Kitchens. Tell me when I'm lying. Tell me when tell me when I'm telling lies. Cam Kitchens is the only guy that would start at Florida State tomorrow. And that includes y'all's Leonard Taylor. And that includes James Williams is a bit of an anomaly. I don't know where Florida State would put him. Cam Kitchens is the only guy that I know would start at Florida State tomorrow. Everybody else, make an argument, but it's not a valid one. So again, I ain't saying Florida State got a better roster. But you stack player for player and you tell me. Bro, stop bringing that up. What are you doing? We have moved past this. That's what we do over here. I think Deloach is in for a great year. I think Tatum Bethune is in for a great year too. I would kind of hope so. I hope to some degree he was like, "Hey, bro, what the fuck is going on?" You think Young would start here? You think Young would start here? Oof. Shout out to Briley. At least he's giving Miami fans some credit. Young wouldn't start here, bro. Young wouldn't be in the slot here. Young's not in our top 3. Young would be probably 4th. Young would probably be 4th. But he ain't over Winston Wright. He ain't over Keon Coleman. And he ain't over Johnny. He's probably over Kentron Portier, though. Man said yes, yes, and no. So you have a tight end that would start on this team? You don't have a receiver that would start on this team. Stop the cat, bro. You don't have a running back as good as Trey Benson. Stop the cat, bro. You don't have an offensive line built like this one. Stop the cat, bro. You're counting on some freshman offensive lineman, a UCF transfer, bro. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I can't talk to you, John, if you're going to tell lies. If you can't be an objective football conversation, I can't talk to you, bro. Other than Cam Kitchens, there ain't a guy. I'll take my backers over your backers all day. I'll take my D-line all day. Secondary, again, you got Cam, you got James. Those are 2 guys that James is again, where do we want to put him? James could definitely be in a rotation for us. I don't know if he's a true safety for us, but James would get some burn for sure. Cam would start. Cam Kitchens would take Akeem Dent's job right now. I'll tell you all that right now. As a Florida State fan, I'll tell you that right now. I'll take my corners all day over what you got. I'll take my cards over Javon. Why? Because he played at Bama, he would start? We'll see. Mesidor wouldn't start. Mesidor wouldn't start over Verse or Pat Payton. Man, stop. Y'all see? That's what I'm saying. You can't even have objective conversations, bro. I'm trying to tell them, though. I don't know, they just full of drugs, bro. Mesidor would start. No, he wouldn't. I will give an argument that Cohen is the only guy I'll give an argument to. I think they're just saying that because he played at Bama. But first of all, our interior offensive line is the strength of our offensive line. But I understand Cohen. Matt Lee, I'm okay there. Though I would, Matt Lee would be. I don't know if Matt Lee would beat out Maurice, but Matt Lee would be the second string. But you lost me when you said Mesidor would start because he wouldn't. But at least your answers, Galaxy, your answers were a little bit better than John's. Yeah, but you're jumping around again. I want you to tell me where I'm telling lies, John. You said all these guys would start. Again, name me a receiver that would start for this team, our team. Name me a running back that would start for Florida State. Name me your tight end that would start for Florida State. I will give you Cohen. That's the only guy I will give you. And I think it would be a battle with the guys that we have on the interior of our offensive line. I don't think it's a given, but he'd be in the mix. Okay? Defensive line, Mesidor's not starting over Pat. I'm sorry. He's damn sure not starting over Verse, and y'all know that for a fact. You can't name one D tackle that's starting on this team. I know y'all love Leonard Taylor, but dare I say, let's look up Leonard Taylor against, I don't know, competent football teams, and you tell me how he looks. And you don't have a backer that would start for our team. And again, other than Cam Kitchens, you don't have a player in the secondary that would start for this team. Zion Nelson wouldn't start. Zion Nelson can barely start for y'all. How the hell he gonna start for us? Ain't Zion always hurt for y'all? Stop the cap, bro. Or am I thinking of somebody else? Zion Nelson don't barely play for y'all, but he finna go to Florida State and beat out my tackles? Man, stop. Thank you, Bradley. Zion's not even gonna start for Miami, but he gonna come to Florida State and start. Bro, I can't. I can't, man. But I get it. When you're a fan, you're fans, so y'all gonna be biased. I get it. I get it. And exactly. Darrell Jackson started next to Leonard Taylor. He's going to be a rotation guy for us. That should tell you everything you need to know if we really want to talk rosters. Darrell Jackson started for y'all, and if he would have stayed, he would have started again. He might be the first guy off the bench, but he's gonna be in the rotation. He ain't gonna be a starter. So again, man, leave it to John Shields brought this conversation up, y'all. John Shields brought this conversation up, but John is the one who brought up the roster stuff. I never said Florida State had the best roster in the ACC. Ultimately, top to bottom, that probably still goes to Clemson. But we're right in the mix. But Miami fans, and I don't even think Miami has a bad roster. I actually love the argument because what Miami fans don't understand what they're doing, they're killing their own argument. Because last I checked, them boys told me they was in a rebuild. Mario just went 5-7, and I had a whole fan base telling me that Mario's rebuilding a program that Manny Diaz left in shambles. That's their narrative, not mine. Miami fans said Manny Diaz left Miami in shambles, and Mario Cristobal got to clean up the mess, so we're in the rebuild. And not even a year later, or just a year later, now y'all got the most talented, or one of the most talented teams is no longer a rebuild? Which argument is it? Y'all either rebuilding or y'all got talent. You tell me. Okay, Galaxy, so you tell me. Y'all rebuilding or y'all got talent? You don't rebuild and have talent. Because Florida State, when Mike got here, Florida State had to rebuild, period. Mike Norvell had to rebuild. Mike Norvell literally took over a team that had a hodgepodge of two different systems. That's what I guess that's what we don't give credit to for Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell took over a team that had a bunch of Jimbo Fisher players, Willie Taggart players, two players recruited for two different type of offenses and defense, and tried that was hodgepodge together. And he literally had to tear that thing down to the studs and rebuild it with the portal and recruiting. And again, tell me when I'm lying. Tell me when I'm making anything up. And they joke on Mike Norvell. They criticize Mike Norvell because it took him in year 3. Last I checked, real football heads know most coaches start getting results in year 3 and 4. That's what it takes when you legitimately have to come in and build a program. You 3 and 4 are the 2 years. You got to cycle out the old guys, bring in the new guys. And Mike Norvell had a hell of a task with the just this blood clot, this clot of players that no way, shape, or form mixed. Didn't fit what he wanted to do. Hell, half of them didn't fit what Willie Taggart wanted to do. But Mike Norvell was supposed to come in and win automatically. Y'all just told me Mario was rebuilding. All of a sudden, Mario got a top roster. Okay, which one is it? Because last I checked, those same guys that made the All ACC team this year, they were on the roster last year that went 5-7. Let me go back to the comments. You should like the roster. But I'm glad as a Miami fan you're saying that. Because what I don't want to hear is 5 games into the season, like I saw last year, these boys suck. Mario got to get his boys. Those are the same boys that y'all were criticizing last year that's making all ACC this year. And when I say y'all, Galaxy, no, I'm not directly talking about you. I'm talking about the Kings fan base as a whole. Right. Right. I can pull the tape from last year. All of them. All the Miami channels. We can go pull the tape of the rebuild, of the players aren't buying into it. It's all the players. It's not the coaches. Mario's got to weed out the bad players. Blase, blase, blase. That was the talk. And yes, they had guys hit the portal this offseason as well. Absolutely. Every team has to transition out some old, bring in the new. But did he rebuild in 1 year is my question. And if it only took him 1 year to rebuild it, how bad was the team? It wasn't left in shambles like I was told. His measurables. At the end of the day, I understand the production might not be there with James. 6'5", 230 that can run the way he can run. It doesn't grow on trees. There's no way James Williams doesn't get drafted based on his measurables and athletic gifts alone, regardless if he ever produces in college. Dare I say, it would not shock me if James Williams is a far better pro than he is a college player. Wouldn't shock me in the least. I'm actually glad to hear you say these things. I can respect these opinions because now we're actually talking and we're not just, we don't got the blinders on. Because not all your fan base feels that way, Galaxy. Some of y'all feel like Manny left y'all in disarray. But at least you can admit that, you know what? Manny actually left a solid roster. Were there bad apples? Yeah, there's bad apples on every team. And the new coach always has to weed out the bad and bring in the good. But you're not that far off. And yes, FSU was in the doldrums. By the way, like Zoe was saying, Leonard Taylor, those guys that y'all brag about, those all Manny guys, by the way. James Williams, Cam Kitchens, Leonard Taylor. It's all Manny guys. Your quarterback. So I'm just saying, Galaxy, y'all talk about Manny left this bad team and y'all got to rebuild. You look like you're rebuilding with Manny Diaz, guys. Already addressed that. No. The guard from Alabama would definitely compete on that offensive line. I'm not sure he would start, but he would definitely compete. He would definitely compete. Absolutely someone that might go on. You're not lying. But we'll see, when I speak, I only speak for myself because I can't speak for any other platform. I can only speak for 863 Seminole TV. And anybody will tell you, I was heavy on the criticism. But I never once asked for Mike Norvell to be fired. Anybody that's watched me this entire time will tell you I never once said Mike Norvell deserves to be fired or should be fired. Never said it. But I criticize, and I will criticize, and will continue to criticize when it's warranted. I will also praise when it deserves to be. What's up, Kevin? Lane Kiffin's the only one we can argue, right? I think Lane Kiffin is not a bad coach. Problem is he's coaching at Ole Miss in the SEC. There's a ceiling to Ole Miss. No matter what you think of Lane Kiffin, there are certain programs that I believe have ceilings that they'll never be able to overcome. Ole Miss is not going to be able to overcome anybody else in that SEC West. I don't think Lane's a bad coach, but outside of that, you could argue everybody else is on the same wavelength. They are terrible. I don't know if best is the right word, but they definitely have the most entertaining Twitter spaces by far. But I'm glad you say that, though. I'm happy that you're here and that you're saying these things because you're speaking truth. The whole fan base doesn't speak this truth is my issue, Galaxy. I'm happy you're saying these things. The problem is you are the minority in the Miami fan base. Because like Zoe was talking about the Miami spaces and the rest of these Miami channels, the narrative is Mario's got to rebuild. But all your best guys are all Americans. So Mario didn't leave the cupboard dry. Quick question, and I'm not going to have to keep making this comparison. When Mike Norvell took over, who was the All-American that was left on this team? Maybe a Marvin Wilson who checked out before the season even started. Who was the All-American on the team when Mike Norvell took over? I can name one. He plays for the Chargers right now. The only All-American caliber player on that team. Oh, definitely. I'm not going to lie about that. Never asked for Mike's job, but I was definitely asking for Fuller's job. Absolutely. I don't say it anymore, but I was definitely asking for Fuller. I won't deny that. You think Scary Terry was All-American? Definitely talented. Yeah, here's the issue with that. Yeah and no. I guess and you can say this about every fan base. I think Florida State fans would tell you, man, there were a lot of people who were more, and I'm not saying these people were right or wrong, but my fan base is notorious for making excuses. The people that were calling for Mike Norvell's head were actually in the minority. There was a lot of people that were making excuses. And again, in hindsight, valid points were made, and here we are. We'll see what happens. Some of the excuses I understand now, and some of the excuses I still think are excuses. So I understand what you're saying. You're not wrong, right? Because every fan base can do this. But I'm just speaking to you directly. And at the end of the day, this is the beautiful part of it. Understand, as long as we understand that it's a process, then everything else doesn't matter. You know, so if Miami fans can understand that it's a process, and that, you know, because even on our most optimistic day, no one said Mike Norvell was going to come in here and blow the doors off. As a matter of fact, most of the fan base was kind of iffy on the hire. Because and to this day, I stand on what I initially said. I don't care. Mike Norvell can go on and do great things, but I still stand on what I initially said about the hire. You don't fire Willie Taggart mid-year and hire Mike Norvell. If you're gonna do it, that move should have been for Chip Kelly. And I'm not saying I wanted Chip Kelly here. I'm just saying as a big name. And I understand Bob Stoops was this rumored name, but that was never real. You don't fire Willie Taggart mid-year, and Mike Norvell's your guy. You go poach something like y'all did with Cristobal. You go poach something. We didn't do that. So, and Mike Norvell again. It doesn't mean anything about Mike Norvell's future. He go on and do great things, but I still stand on what I say. And again, if Mike Norvell goes and wins a couple natties, then I'm wrong. But I don't backtrack that one. At the end of the day, Galaxy, the point is, it's a process. It's a process, and as long as Miami fans understand that, the problem with Miami fans more than any other fan base, and you can't deny this, is y'all want to or have wanted to, for the last 20 years, skip the process. Every year is the year. It's just the only thing I'll say this year is Miami, for whatever reason, they've wisened up and they understand they're not willing to throw Mario to the wolves yet. It's the only thing I can say. I feel like the most common prediction last year was 7-5. 8-4 might be in the will. By the time the season started, the most common prediction was 8-4. I remember it like it was yesterday, Briley. And I'll never forget it. I remember the same people that ended up saying 8-4 were the same people that before the season started, I would say around maybe June, July, this time last year, were saying if Florida State wins 6 and 7 games, that they didn't believe in the roster. They didn't believe in none of that. I remember the conversation. That's from all your big outlets. The War Chants, the 247s, all of them were saying Florida State wins 6 or 7 games, man. Mike Norvell is growing. I was, again, I ain't trying to toot my own horn. I was the first to come out and say, nah, for the sake of this program, 8 should be the minimum. We need to go 9-3 or better. 8 is the worst we can do. And it's like everybody came on after that and kind of co-signed that. Not saying I'm leading anything or, I'm just saying. I remember those arguments because I had those arguments online. But that does speak to your point of nobody was hyping this. There was no hype train last year. All right, Zoe, I'm with it. Zoe says, we have to play that game. Who was the most disappointing Nole of all time? For me, it was Joshua Kando. The most disappointing Nole of all time? Kando? Whew, you threw a name out there, but man, there's a long list of those. Bro, there's a long list of those. What about George Campbell? We're going to talk about most disappointing Noles of all time. What about George Campbell? Hell, you want to talk about most disappointing Noles of all time? What about Joshua Kando's teammate? Joshua Kando at least got drafted. What about Marvin Wilson? Let's have that. We can definitely have that conversation. So I don't know if Kando gets I don't think Kando wins that. We can name some guys. What about Levante Taylor, number 1 corner in his class? And I like Levante Taylor, but come on. What about Malik Henry? Or are we just counting guys that actually played games for us? Yes, you did. You absolutely did. Insane. We did. Absolutely, you're right. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. We told elite lies with Willie Taggart. We thought Willie was going to come in but you got to understand why we thought that. Uh, we had a coach that literally quit on us. So a lot of FSU fans are in their feelings at this point, and we just, you know how it is, man. You get dumped by the girl, and a girl that you've been with for a while, you get dumped, and you rebound. And the only reason you would the rebound is because you just want to feel like you want it by somebody, and that's what it was, man. I hate to say it like that, but we got dumped. Taggart was the rebound, and we were just happy to have somebody that wanted to be here. And Taggart was all FSU dream job, grew up a Florida State fan, family Florida State fan, blase, blase. And we was just happy to feel wanted. And the roster he inherited. Brian Burns is on the roster. Cam Akers is on that roster. Marvin Wilson's on that roster. Kando's on that roster. Robinson's on that roster. Offensively, DeAndre Francois on that roster. Tamorion Terry's on that roster. I mean, that roster he took over was, Asante Samuel's on that roster. Stanford Samuel's on that roster. D-Jack's on that roster. Devontae Taylor's on that roster. That man took over a blue chip stack roster. So, yeah, we definitely hyped that up. But we had reason to. Yes, it's definitely indefensible. But I'm defending it because we had reason to. Why does it matter 3 years later? I talked about it when it happened. Why do we got to talk about it 3 years later? You want to know my thoughts on it, John? Go watch the video from 3 years ago. I'm not going to go back over that. Point still stands from what I said back then. Fred Rouse. You can't say Sam McCall. Fred Rouse is a big one. Ermon Lane's another one. Yeah, he had Naquan Murray too on that team. That's why we hyped up Willie, man. Willie had a team, bro. Willie had a stacked team. Willie had a team. And so the team fell short. Team fell short, bro. Xavier Lee's a good one though, Momo. Xavier Lee's definitely a good one. I was a big Xavier Lee guy. I mean, man, you can go on a list of most disappointing no's of all time. I don't think Joshua Kando deserves that title. So I don't think Kando deserves that title. To be fair, bro, I think all coaches are workers. I don't think you get to this level by sitting on your ass all day. Even Taggart, to his defense, he didn't get to the level he got by not being a worker. I think when you get to this level, though, of expectation and talent, I think the problem is, and I believe Miami's a bigger job than Oregon. I'm going to be honest with you. And I know he has some success at Oregon. I don't think Oregon and Miami are comparable. Florida State fans might not agree. And I'm not talking about what they've been on the field in recent years. I'm talking about the actual scope of the job. I don't think Oregon is in the same class as Miami in terms of expectation, talent, location, all the things that can make Miami a premier destination. Oregon does not have outside of the Miami, not the Miami, the Nike backing. Oregon does not have that for Miami. Miami's a better job, in my opinion. I would take the Miami job 10 times out of 10 over the Oregon job, personally. The problem is you can be a hard worker, but that don't mean you're good. And I was saying the same thing about Mike Norvell up until last year. Everybody told me how hard he worked. Awesome. It doesn't mean you're good. And I would say that we all know. I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat knows a person that they tried hard. They weren't good. And so I say that to say I don't know that about Mario. I think my problem with Mario is what is his fallback card? Okay, he's a hard worker. He's going to be on the phone. He's going to recruit. But when the shit hit the fan, can Mario Cristobal grab the play sheet and say, "Move over, I got it"? What is his fallback? What is his calling card? That's my question for Mario. And that's my question for any coach. And I think that's Mario's got to find that. And I think whatever he accomplished at Oregon has nothing to do with his potential at Miami. He has to figure that out. I think that's where Mario has to discover himself. That's just me, though. Jeff Luck, that's a good one. Disappointing, maybe not most disappointing, but Carlos. Oh, you can't say Carlos, though I understand where you're coming from, Maurice. Believe it or not, I understand where you're coming from. Carlos did run for 700 yards the year they transitioned him from safety to running back. And he was an all-world athlete. I'm to this day, Carlos Williams is one of the best athletes Florida State's ever had on this program. One of the best athletes out of Central Florida, Polk County, period. This is 863 Seminole TV for a reason. So I ain't going to say anything. I ain't going to disrespect Carlos Williams and what he was as an athlete coming out. I can't say anything bad about Carlos. Unless you want to say he didn't turn into the – Carlos was supposed to be Derwin before Derwin. That's the one thing I can say. Is that Carlos, remember, he was a safety coming out of high school. But Carlos Williams was supposed to, and 6'2", 220, Carlos Williams was supposed to be Derwin James before Derwin James. And he wasn't, as a defensive player, you can say he was disappointing. But they still found a way to maximize his athletic ability. Whether it's offense, offenses. And in defense, he had some moments too. So disappointing, no, but I understand where you're trying to go with that one. He was a contributor on a very good team. Again, he ran for over 700 yards. DeCando's defense, he was hurt for like the first 3 years he was here. He stayed hurt to his defense. I hope you're right. I hope you're right in saying. Gavin. I actually think Preston Parker was good, believe it or not, Momo. I think Preston Parker was like the lone bright spot at that time in Florida State. I think some people would agree with me too. I think Preston Parker was like the lone bright spot on that offense at that time. Michael Rick Garvin. He played next to Tony Carter. I remember. Mario's calling sorry. His very best skill is selling and salesmanship. Has nothing to do with coaching. It's an important part of winning, but it's not coaching. Deshaun Platt. Galaxy Scene says, Briley says, my bad. FSU had continuity. We weren't changing our entire playbook on both sides of the ball. Miami situation is completely different. Can't expect similar results. I do agree with Briley from that aspect. I mean, you can say what you want about Mike Norvell. I do think Miami fans, to a degree, you have to be a little alarmed. I don't. Now, Steele, you don't really have any control over because, right, you didn't fire Steele. He just took the Bama job. Gaddis, but it should still worry you that you're completely changing offensive defense in year 2. So I don't know how much of a leap do you expect. At some point, your program does need continuity. Believe it, as a Florida State fan, you need continuity. That was one of Willie Taggart's problems. Is first year Walt Bell. Who the hell was Walt Bell? And then we get Kendall Briles, but we don't. Kendall Briles never gets a real. Kendall Briles never gets time to recruit anybody. I believe Kendall Briles is a good play caller, but he never gets an opportunity to recruit his guys and implement a system because in the year he's gone. So you need the continuity. You need the continuity for sure. Most our kickers are all Janikowski, greatest kicker probably of all time. Maybe out of Vinatieri has an argument, but come on, Janikowski, Hopkins, all our kickers went to the NFL. What are you talking about? How are they disappointing? NFL. FSU's probably produced more NFL kickers than any team in the country. Graham Gano, Dustin Hopkins, Sebastian Janikowski. What are you talking about? Right. Juwan Williams. Juwan Williams is actually that might be the answer because Juwan Williams. Last time I checked, Juwan Williams was a blue. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look Juwan Williams up because I think that might be the answer. Because this was a guy, I believe he was a premier offensive tackle in that class. And you're talking about a guy who's absolutely terrible. Juwan Williams was you recruiting profile. Nationally, he was 168 and the 16th overall offensive tackle in the country. So, I mean, that's a top 175 player, blue chipper. It was absolutely garbage. It was absolutely garbage. Absolutely. Bell say you ain't gotta like us, but you will respect us. Miami, here you go. And saying want to ask y'all a question. Y'all go ahead and read that. J. Knowles says Miami's major problem is not having a stadium on campus and having only 12 fans show up a week. UM can't recruit a big time college atmosphere. Can't recreate, a big time college atmosphere that those guys. I mean, there's some truth to that, Jay. I don't disagree with everything. I don't disagree with that. I think Miami fans will even admit. Miami fans will probably downplay it and say that's not a big deal. I do think kids care about the atmosphere, and especially when you go to Bama and they're going to pack the stadium out every week. In Miami, unless Florida State's coming to town, I don't, Miami will probably sell out for Texas A&M this year. What other big home game does Miami have? I'm not so sure about it. A&M will probably sell out. Don't call him garbage. He just underperformed. I mean, you call him what you want. I'm calling him garbage. Shoot. You call him what you want to call him. I'm going to call him garbage. Because he transferred too, didn't he? Didn't Juwan Williams end up transferring? And he wasn't even good where he transferred at. So we're just going to call him garbage. With all due respect. And that class that he signed to, number 2 overall class in the country. You signed the number 1 corner in the country in Levante Taylor. Number 11 nationally, Lander Dickinson was one of the best offensive linemen in the country. He didn't pan out for us either, but again, that's an NFL football player who went to Bama and balled out. Brian Burns, number 2 end in the country. Malik Henry, he never became nothing. Josh Ball, I don't think he ever played a down for you. He ended up transferring to Marshall. Josh Brown, talk about disappointing. Josh Brown ain't never give you a lick. Bavion Johnson, a nationally 71 player in the country. Really, Bavion Johnson, I mean, shout out to Bavion, man. He played a lot of football for you. But boy, he never lived up to that ranking. D-Jack. Cedric Wood never plays a down for you. Carlos Becker, I don't think ever really played much downs for you. Keith Gavin, outside of that Michigan game. Janoris Robinson, solid player, but never really was that guy. Kyle Myers, who? Juwan Williams, again, we talked about him. Nasir Upshaw, I remember him. Never got nothing out of him. Emmett Rice. Shout out to Emmett Rice. 3-star, though. And after that, after Nasir Upshaw, it goes to a bunch of 3 stars. Man, best player in that class. Shavar Manuel, number 86 player in the country, never even enrolls at your school. The best player in that class. Who's the best player in that class? So I just went over the whole. Brian Burns easily is the best player in that class. Easily is the best player in that class. Not even close. Not even close. Yeah, because Damien says the 2016 class was tragic. A lot of misses. Yeah, Brian Burns is by far the best player in that class. But yeah, Landon Dickerson was, I don't say he was a miss, man. He just couldn't stay healthy for you. Just couldn't stay healthy for you. Obviously, he wasn't a miss because he goes to Bama and he, does his thing. Devontae Taylor never lived up to the hype, bro. Malik Henry never plays it down for you. Talked about all these other guys. There's definitely a lot of misses in this class. Outside of Emmett Rice and Brian Burns are probably the 2 best players in that class by far. Yeah, by far. By far. Great question. I think that game's closer than people gave it credit for. I think everybody just goes 2013, and I think they completely sleep on that 1999 first ever wire-to-wire national champion. They completely sleep on that team. Zoe's picking the 2013 team, and I definitely understand it. But the matchups are interesting. I'm going to look at it. I'm looking at the roster right now. I mean, here's my problem. My problem with the 1999 team, I think it matches up with the 2013 offense. I don't know if I think both defenses match up well with the other's offense. Like, I know P-Dub is a problem, but P-Dub and Ron Dugans and Snoop Menace, even though Snoop didn't have a bunch of yards that year. But they also had a young Anquan Bolden. But I think our secondary matches up well with that. I like Ronald Darby and them boys matched up against that. I think the backfield is with Travis Minor leading the charge. I like 2013's backfield better for sure. And I like 2013's offensive line better for sure. But again, you talk about Jamal Reynolds, Corey Simon, Tommy Polley, Bradley Jennings, Derek Gibson. That defense ain't no joke over there on that 1999 team. It's close. I think it's close. I think it's close. I think it's close. Exactly. That 1999 team's D line might decide that game. Because Jamal Reynolds and Corey Simon's on the same D line. Who do y'all take? Y'all take Jernigan or Corey Simon? Just to determine. Y'all take Jernigan or Corey Simon. And then name another pass rusher on the 2013 team that was in the league of Jamal Reynolds because y'all don't think you can. I don't think you can. And I think the linebackers are a wash. I think the linebackers are even between 1999 and 2013. I really do. But I think I give the defensive line. And that's just the starters. That's not even listing Darnell Dockett's on that 1999 defensive line. You feel me? So I don't know, man. I think I like 1999. I think I like 1999's defense against our offensive line on 2013. I think our 2013 offensive line is one of the best that in Florida State's history. Eddie Goldman's a freshman, though, in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. But you're taking Eddie Goldman over Corey Simon? Or Timmy Jernigan? No, you're not. Ed, you're not doing that. I know you're smarter than that. Yeah, but Christian Jones wasn't Jamal Reynolds. I'm not so sure about this one. Yeah. Just curious, man. Y'all taking Corey Simon or what? 1999 is an underrated team for some reason. Underrated team. Ultimately, I think 2013 gets the nod. But I don't know if it's as cut and dry as people say. Agreed. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think 1999 has a legit shot. I would argue 1999's front seven against 2013's front seven. Where I think 2013 has the better secondary, though. I think 2013 has the better secondary. I think they have the better secondary. I think 1999 has the better front seven. I ain't even mentioned Lavernius Coles on the 1999 team as well. 2013 has the better backfield. I'll take Jameis over Chris Winkie all day, every day. And yeah, Rashard Green, Kelvin Benjamin are better than Peter Warrick. From a number standpoint, they're better. And Ron Dugans. I think the only real argument is who's better, Peter Warrick or Rashard Green. I've said it before about Rashard Green. I'm biased towards Peter Warrick because that's a guy from my childhood, and I was an adult watching Rashard Green. But Rashard Green has an argument to be the best wide receiver in Florida State history. I mean, it just is what it is. I'm gonna always say number 9, but if I took my biases aside, the answer honestly is probably Rashard Green. I agree with that. 2013 is underrated amongst everybody outside For some reason, people sleep on the 2013 team, but I also say that I think 2013 is a bit overrated for Florida State fans. I think because it's recent that to some degree we speak of 2013 and forget about 1993 that had Derek Brooks and Warwick Dunn, and we can go name a bunch of players on that team, and then we forget about 1999, like I just named you, Darnell Dockett and Corey Simon, and these like we forget these guys. We overrate 2013 to a degree as Florida State fans in comparison to our other great teams. I'll say that. Jernigan was a dog. Jernigan's one of my favorite players off of that team. I don't know if I'm taking him over Corey Simon, though. LSU broke it. The LSU had more games to break it. Yeah, no, I'm not saying Travis Martin wasn't good, but he's not Devontae Freeman, James Wilder, and Carlos Williams. Like the backfield of 2013, that backfield is by far and away better than the backfield that Chris Winkie and them boys had. It just is. From Jameis Winston on down, it's just better. I would take the offense. I'm blatantly taking the offense in 2013 over 1999. And again, Peter Bork's my favorite Nole of all time. But I'm taking Jameis Winston, those three running backs I just named, Trey Jackson, Brian Stork, Cam Irving, Nick O'Leary, the greatest tight end in FSU history. Like I'm taking that entire offense over 1999's offense. Where I give the nod to 1999, I think arguably is the front seven of that defense. I think the 2013 secondary is probably better. So with all that said, on paper, 2013 is the better team. It'd be interesting. I think it might be a closer game than we expect. Hey, I ain't mad at it. If you think Charlie's number one, I ain't mad at it. Yeah, LeBranius Cole's on the team. He didn't have a lot of yards. I think he had like 100-something yards for the season, but he's on the team. Anquan's on that team. But those guys are like freshmen, though. The big two on that team are Ron Dugans and P Dub. This is where I lean too. Y'all gonna take Pruitt? Y'all gonna take Pruitt over Mickey? Because I'm not. If you want to go to coaching, y'all taking Jeremy Pruitt over Mickey Andrews? Because I'm not. And I know people loved him from Jeremy Pruitt. I think, and I've said this ain't the first time I've said this on this channel, won't be the last. I think Jeremy Pruitt's a bit of a product of Mark Stoops' building of the defense, and Jeremy Pruitt just got a Ferrari and drove it home. But I'm not taking I'm not taking Pruitt over Mickey Andrews. Ain't happening at all. I'm not doing it. Jimbo can call plays, but Mickey gonna dial some stuff up. So I'm not taking Mickey over a Pruitt defense. So I don't know. I think it's pretty clear that it just went deeper with Florida State and Jimbo. It was deeper than just winning with him. He wanted, at that time, stuff Florida State that was not willing to invest in. He wanted those A&M, Georgia facilities. And Florida State wasn't willing to bend the knee to that. And so what you end up getting is an unhappy Jimbo Fisher. So there's that. I don't think beating Bama, unless you tell me that beating Bama gives Jimbo a negotiating nod over Florida State and that they would have gave in to his demands, which I'm not sure that happens. I don't think that winning that game keeps Jimbo Fisher, because Florida State Jimbo didn't. It wasn't about winning. Jimbo wanted to also compete in the arms race. That, to Jimbo's credit, and I know we don't give Jimbo a lot of credit over here, but to Jimbo's credit, he saw what college football was becoming. To his credit, he had the foresight to understand, okay, I just won a natty 3 years ago. If we're speaking 2016, 2017 time frame, I just won a natty 3 years ago, but college football is an arms race, and we can't stay stagnant. And I can't continue to pull in the recruiting classes that I want to pull in if my facilities don't compete. So to his credit, he understood where Florida State needed to go, where they're going now, right? Everything that Florida State is giving Mike Norvell, Jimbo wanted a decade ago. Let's be honest. To his credit, he had the foresight to see that. No, I don't think anybody ever criticized Jimbo for that. They criticized the way he left us. Just because you don't get what you want, you don't implode a team from within, which is what he did. You don't quit on your job and completely derail a program for the next few years because you didn't get what you want. So I think people hate the way he left, but you can't criticize his foresight. You can't criticize the arms race that he foresaw college football turning into. And look what it is now. In 2023, it's exactly that. It's an NIL facilities up arms race. If you don't have those two things, you're not competing in this landscape. So he foresaw that. You got to give the man his credit for that. You just hate the way he went about it. You won't hear me say this much, but I give me Chris Ricks over Weatherford all day. Pruitt was good, but Mickey Andrews fathered these sideline to sideline. Yeah, I mean, bro, I've spoken about that at length. Everybody says teams that are built like SEC teams. And people forget that SEC teams did nothing but copy the Florida State model from the 90s. Exactly. He was right and wrong at the same time. He was right for what he foresaw. He was wrong about the way he went about it. No, I agree. He had the vision. Jimbo knew, again, he knew where college football was headed. And he wasn't getting the support. He knew he needed to continue to compete at the level he wanted to compete, the level that he achieved as a head football coach. He didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. He wanted to keep that. Again, this is going to be the nicest stuff I say about Jimbo, but you got to give him credit for that. He's a dickhead for the way he went about it. It was true. It just at that time it was true. And I've also said this. I also said this about Willie. Again, in Willie's defense, and there are a lot of things I cannot defend about Willie, but the one thing I have routinely defended about Willie, he didn't have any backing when he got here. There was no financial backing for Taggart. Not only did Taggart get a job after Jimbo Fisher, the AD that hires Willie Taggart leaves. So now the person that hired you isn't even there to go to bat for you when things go sour. Taggart had no backing. That's the only defense for Taggart I can give, and which why he was cut a year and a half into his tenure. Because the man who fired you didn't hire you, so it was nothing to him to cut you loose. And the man that hired you left you to the wolves. I always said that about Wilcox. Everybody talks about FSU. Nobody puts blame on Wilcox. For one, not even doing a proper coaching search. But that's okay. A brother took care of a brother. I'm all for that. But then you hang him out to dry because you don't stay with him. You hired him and then you dip on him and you leave him with nothing in return. So you didn't back him up. It's the only defense I can give Willie is that he didn't have the backing. Mike Norvell, it has taken a couple years. Mike Alford got the job, and since Mike Alford has got the job, I think everybody can see the obvious difference in the Florida State athletic program. I think everybody can see the obvious difference in the Florida State athletic program. Alford has been amazing, and Mike is going to benefit from that. And ultimately, if I think if Mike Norvell plateaus with the financial backing, you have to move on because there's no excuse, right? Of course, Jimbo can coach. No one's ever. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else. When Jimbo's dialed in to this day, he's still one of the best play callers in the game. The problem is, like people be like, "Oh, the times have passed Jimbo's Fisher by. His offense is old." That's not necessarily true. I don't think so anyway. The problem is I don't know if Jimbo has the same feel for the game. I think Jimbo got a taste of success. I don't know. He seems to me like he just got comfortable after 2013 in all aspects. Willie had a lot of flaws. Don't get me wrong. But again, just to defend him when you don't have the backing of the people that hired you, I think that was the reason why Willie Taggart. Remember when he donated $1 million of his own salary? I think he thought that was going to give him some grace, and it didn't happen. So, but man, that's 3 hours, bro. We just did 3 hours. It don't even feel like 3 hours, but we did just 3 hours strong on Noles After Dark. So y'all hit that like button, man. Share the video. If you're new, if you just tuned in for whatever reason, man, subscribe to the channel. I hope y'all like the lid. But with all that said, y'all, I'm done for tonight. 3 hours strong. We covered, like we do every show, bro. We cover it all. We just don't step on one topic. We started off with Lester and Bolden, talked about Jimbo Fisher, Willie Taggart, the best 1999, 2013. Hell, what else did we talk about, man? We talked about a boatload. We talked about Deion tonight. We talked a little bit about everybody. And with all that said, again, man, thank you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. As always, it is your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. Stay classy, Seminoles, and we are out here. Go Noles.